Hey, are we going to have the guy from SeaWorld
Okay.
back sometime soon?
Say that again?
Are we going to have the guy from SeaWorld back with us sometime soon?
We can.
Okay. Can we have him back sometime soon? He has great information.
Yes, he does. Absolutely.
Thank you.
He was supposed to do like a series with us.
What are we doing?
And I know he's super busy. So I will get in touch with him again and see when he can be on. All right, so I just put all my stuff down and then picked it back up again. All right, so I'm just gonna take a look at the manual. Everybody received the new manual. I believe we're receiving it via email now, so it's digital. If you've not received it, if you're new, just coming on, please make sure that you get a hold of Kate and get a hold of the manual. Manual has lots of great information for you that you can look through before you call somebody for help, but definitely look through your manual. So one of the things we've talked about recently is recall and making sure our dog has a good recall. So the place you want to start is in the house. And we talked about some games you can play with the dog to get them to come to you, play hide and seek with a toy, play hide and seek with a treat. And you really want to get the dog to come to you. And then once you feel pretty comfortable, like they do it in the house, whether they're a puppy or an older dog, either will work. Then you want to move to the stage where you're taking them outside into a fenced in area. And you really want to work on that recall because some of our dogs think it's funny to take off. You get them outside, and especially if they're unleashed and they're out in the backyard where there's free reign, they don't want to come back because they love to be outside. So sometimes it's just a firm come now, and they will, but some of them decide that, oh no, this is game time. So the one thing, if you're going to tell your dog to come, make them come. Whether it's just to come to you and you give them a treat and then you let them play again, that's fine. But don't say come, and the dog not come to you. Recall is super important. And if you say their name and come over and over again and they don't do it, you're teaching them that they don't have to come. So recall is super important. I know that there's some information in our training manual, I believe, on recall. At least in the thing I'm looking at in front of me. But I have two separate things, so this may be different. But you definitely want to start inside with the puppies. We definitely want to start inside with our older dogs who've gone through some training. If you first get a dog home, I would start inside and then maybe a little bit later move to outside. And definitely use treats at first just to see. That's one thing we use, or squeaky toys or something that entices the dog to come to you. But don't ever call them and not make them come. They don't necessarily have to go inside. So like I'll call my dogs to me, Wrangler, come. And he comes to me, I'm like, yes, good job. And I'll give him a treat. And then I'll go play. And he kind of looks at me like, oh, I thought we were going in. I'm like, nope, go play. And I let him go play. So that every time isn't always going inside, that they know they just need to come to you, check in with you. That's super important. We want them just making sure that they're checking in with us. Even if they're out playing and you just call their name, Wrangler, watch me, and get them to look at you. That's always the goal, just that they're constantly checking in. So any questions about recall? That's something we should be working on a regular basis. We walk them a lot, I know, and we play with them a lot, but think about how often do you practice recall? And a few times a week is good, maybe once a day, whatever, it just depends on your schedule. I know I'm a big walker, so I like to get them out walking, but I do have a time after school where I come home and the first thing they want to do is go out and play. And so we go outside and play, and I will practice a recall a couple times. Doesn't have to be forever, just a few minutes. As long as I know I got Wrangler's attention, then I'm good. Well, I have Wrangler right now, whatever dog I have. So any questions about your recall? Also, when they do come, being sure to use those markers. That's it. Yes, good job. Come. Yes. Okay. So just being sure that you're using those in all of your training commands, using your markers. Okay, just a reminder, everybody needs to be using your crate, your kennels, and making sure your dog is comfortable going in them. If you're a person who just got a new dog, your dog should be in a crate nightly. If they're older and you feel comfortable leaving them out at night and then putting them in at night, I will do that also, just so I know that the dog can behave outside the crate, but I never want them to not be used to going in the crate. So Wrangler's real good. Hess needed a treat, but Wrangler pretty good about, I say kennel, he goes in, but I have allowed him to stay out a night or two, a night out, a night in, but please make sure that you are crating them. And if you're on this call and you're going, oh crap, I'm not crating my dog, and you don't have one, I don't know where everybody is. All the people I'm looking at, I know are old raisers, but some of your names I don't recognize. So please be sure that you're crating your dog.
Hey,
And
Wendy, I have a question about that. This is Kat Salzman. I have Simon. So he's really good, and I've been keeping him out at night, but I crate him when I go to work. So is that okay, and he goes in fine? Or do you want him in there at night?
Okay, well, that's the opposite. I mean, no, just the goal is to not allow them to get used to not being crated.
Okay.
So if you're good with him being out at night and he's a good dog, and then you put him in during the day, I mean, that's really up to you. Yeah, I just don't want him to get used to not being in the crate.
Gotcha. Okay.
Great question. Anybody else?
Wendy,
Yeah.
Wendy, this is Alina. I have Tyrion. He does not go in a crate for anything. We've tried different crates and nothing. He will not go. He's great outside, but I don't know.
You know, I did hear that about him with the last razor,
Mhm.
but I thought that they worked it out. Must be not. So have you tried to feed him in the crate?
He won't even go in. We've tried throwing toys in. We've left the crate outside so that he can see it and get used to it, but no, nothing. He goes in, gets scared, and jumps back out.
Wow. Like
Yeah.
scared, like shaking scared, that kind of scared?
Well, yes, if he hears a noise, because the crate kind of wobbles,
Uh-huh.
he jumps out right away.
Huh. Can you put the crate on a towel so it's on a little bit solid ground, more so than just on the floor, so maybe it won't make a noise?
Oh, I could try that.
I have mine on a towel just mostly because of my floor, but I know that my crates don't make any noise. I'm just thinking, like, he needs to get used to being in a crate, and I know he was in prison. So that kind of surprises me, but I do remember hearing that from another raiser about him.
Mhm.
Okay, well, I've written that down. Alina, where do you live? Where are you?
In St. Pete.
Okay, all right.
So the biggest thing I think is that you have to feed them in the crate, because we just got a new dog and she was not used to the crate either. So she would only get her food in the crate. So then the association of the two things gets a little bit better, because then they're not as worried.
Yeah. So I would just open the door to his crate and put the food in the back and then just leave it.
Oh,
And
okay.
figure out how to go in and get it.
All right.
And you don't
I'll
want to
try that.
You don't need to close it. You just want him to acclimate to going in. It will not happen overnight. It will not happen in a week.
All right.
Is that true, Dina? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to take time, but we want him to get used to going into a crate. So
All right.
if anybody's having that problem, definitely feed them in it. It's not like you've got it you don't even have to do anything except put it in there and then maybe just say the word kennel and then give them some time.
All right. Great.
Yeah, we've had a few dogs like that. Dina, who do you have now?
I have Zulu,
Oh,
which is Victor's brother or sister. So,
oh,
and I see Victor's on here, and I see Cragen's on here, and I'm so excited. Not them, not the dog. My kids are excited too.
right. Yes. Well, that's fun.
But yes, so she was at a raiser in January through when we picked her up just a few months or a few weeks ago. And she wasn't used to the kennel. I don't know if it's different or whatever, but we just started feeding her in her kennel, and then that got her used to it.
Okay.
So that's what we're working on too.
So I just saw your comment, Valerie. That's funny. Tank used to snore really loud too. So there's something I've not thought about. So it's possible that sometimes your crate, your kennel is a little bit different than the one that they were in prior. So also keep that in mind. So don't just assume if they're not going in that they won't go in, but assume that they have to go in at some point. So if putting their food in, that's one thing they'll always go for is their food. So putting their food in the way back and then just leaving the door open and waiting for them to just take their time. But yeah, and if your crate makes noise, I would put it on something. One of my crates is on like a big bath mat and the other one is on a towel. So,
I have a question different.
yes. Okay.
So Alvin is fine in the crate, but he's gotten so, I guess, attached that he doesn't want to go in the kennel. When I say kennel, I have to make him go. But once he's in there, he's fine. Whether I trick him with a treat or, lure him in there, but he will literally do like a stop position and not want to go in the kennel.
But he will go in with a treat.
Yes.
Okay, so Hess was the same way. And I just got to the point where I would go get a treat and Hess would beeline it for the kennel because he knew. And I would just say kennel and I wouldn't make a big deal of it. Like if all it takes is one little treat to get him in the kennel and I don't have to like drag his butt in there, then I don't want to drag his butt. I want him to go in and a treat did it. And so he got a treat every night, every time he stayed in the kennel.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because
I mean, and he's older. Hess is 2.5, but he would refuse also. And I wasn't going to drag him in. I don't feel that that's good for them.
no, as soon as I get a treat, he goes right in.
Yeah, see, Hess was the same way. So yeah, I mean, the goal would be for us to be able to say it. And then like I say kennel to Wrangler, boom, he's right there. In fact, I can say it from the kitchen and he'll go into the bedroom. Hess would not, he would stop at the door and look at me like, really? And I'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to get a treat. And as soon as he heard that, he'd go in. So, and that happened right up until he got placed as therapy dog. So I'm not sure what's happening with her now. I think she's probably still having to use a treat. But my thinking is, well, it's one treat. And he went in there happily after that. Like once he knew he was getting a treat, he was fine. He was like, okay, I'm good in here. So he doesn't mind going in. It was just, I don't know. And
yeah. Well, in the beginning, he went in it just fine. You say kennel, he goes. But the more attached he got and the more freedom of being out, he wasn't going in that kennel. Right. And I even let him sleep in my bedroom floor some nights. And just so he's not in the kennel,
right.
He's only in the kennel if we have to leave for something that he doesn't go to. But yeah, the more attached he'll try to go, he beelines when I say bed, he'll beeline right to my bedroom instead of that kennel.
Yeah.
Unless I have a treat going to the kennel, then he'll go.
I would give him the tiniest of treats, like the smallest treat you get, because he knows you're going to give him a treat. And if he's going in, I mean, the goal obviously is always to wean them off the treats. But I'm sorry, Hess never did. He refused. He would not go in and I was not going to drag him. And so each night he would get a tiny little treat. And as soon as I said it, boom, and he went. No, I guess I could have not given him the treat and just closed the door. And I don't know if I did that or not. I can't remember, but you know what I'm saying? Like I say it, he goes in and then I shut the door and go, okay, good for you. Now you don't get the treat. No, I don't know. But if they're going in, I mean, that's the most important thing, that they're going in the crate and we're not having to forcefully put them in. So does that answer your question, Dana? We kind of went roundabout.
Oh yeah, no, I just want to make sure it was okay. Cause like I said,
yes,
he follows me like nonstop. Even if I release him, he stays right with me even without leash.
He's got a little Velcro on him, eh?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I see Jessica Rowe. We have an issue with selective recall. Sometimes she comes and sometimes she does not. So we're going to go back to recall for a second. So Jessica, will she come to you if you're close to her? So, because my suggestion would be to start off close to her and call her to you. Like, you know, even if you, and with a treat, and call her close to you and be all excited, Fiji, come, yes. And then work your way, you know, it's distance, it's about distance, duration. And so in this case, it would be distance. So you start close to her and she does it and you make a big deal of it. And you do that a lot. And then you get your distance a little bit longer and so on. Will she come to you if you are close?
She's great in the house. It's just like when she's free out in the, like we have like it's a dog park, but no one's ever here. And so I take her there and she'll start running around. She'll start digging holes and I'll be like, Fiji, come. And she just looks at me and she keeps running and like going crazy. So
So
that's
you
the
don't
only
want to call
time.
her. You don't want to tell her come unless you know she's going to come, unless you're in a position where you know she's going to come to you,
Right.
because then she's training you.
Well, so when she's out here in the park, she never comes to me and I don't know how to change that.
Are you
I don't,
making treats or a squeaky toy or something that's going to entice her?
I stopped doing the treats because I was trying to wean her off the treats. She would do it when I had treats.
Well, maybe,
so-
I mean, maybe that's the one thing she's not ready to be weaned off yet. She's what, 7 months, 8 months?
She's 8
8
months.
8 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe she's not ready for that particular command to be weaned off, or try a squeaky toy, or try running the other way, like calling her and running and seeing if
Yeah.
she'll follow you. Something
That
where
works.
as soon as she comes to you, you can snatch her up and give her a, yes, good job.
Yeah.
Way
I
to
think I'm
come.
gonna start. The food definitely works. I've tried toys. I've tried squeaky toys. She'll take the toy and start running. Treats are really,
Well, you're not supposed to give it to her, Jessica.
well, she'll jump on me and like try to, it becomes tug.
Oh.
And it's just like a whole, yeah, it's a whole thing. So I've just stopped with the toys and doing that.
Okay.
Even when we're walking, she'll start like, we'll go up the stairs and it'll be like, we're walking in the hallway and she's like jumping, grabbing on the leash, trying to pull it. And I don't know how to stop it because it's like, she's great, but then she has these like bursts of energy when she's not great.
She's
But
a
it's random.
teenager. She's a
Right.
teenager.
Right. So it's not all the time that she's doing that. If it was, it would be a huge issue, but it's not. So I don't know if she just has a lot of energy. She's trying to get it out for that like 5 minutes that she's doing it. And then the rest of the day, she's an angel. Like,
Right. And I think they have to have some moments during the day. I don't know. For my dogs, it's usually 1 or 2, sometimes 3, depending on the dog, where they just, you know, I mean, that's for me, that's the zoomies, and they just need to run and like get it out of their system.
Yep.
You know? And then at that point, I just stand there. I don't call, come, I just watch them, let them, okay, whatever. And I just wait until they kind of wear themselves out. Because if I try to call them to me at that point, of course, they don't want to. They're running around having fun. So, I mean, think about a little kid, you know, do they want to come? Do they want to go home right in the middle of play?
right. No, they don't.
Give her that time and see what happens when she wears herself out.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Right. Well, is there anything specific that somebody has a question about or is confused about? This would be a good time while I find my next place. Anybody?
Yeah, I have a question. This is Kat Salzman again. So I went to the Hillsborough County Fair and Kate I'm getting one of the black dog leashes for Simon because he's 88 pounds of muscle and he pulls. How do I implement that? I know Kate was saying you're not going to use it all the time, but how do you correlate when you're using that to then putting him on the regular leash to see if he's improved? Like, should I start taking him out with the black dog leash? And
Yeah, I can answer that for you because I use a black dog. In fact, we've just ordered 4 more because out of Australia, I'm waiting for them to now. Jill, they didn't show up today. Anyway, what you do is you can use the black dog And when they're when you're working with, and they're out of control, they're pulling, they're doing whatever they want to do at that point, you can use it for control, but you do practice with them by putting the leash on their collar and doing the same practice session with or training sessions with them on the collar. And then when you're outside and they still haven't got it yet, you move them to the black dog and use it. And then eventually you'll be able to put them on the collar and walk with them. But you're going to have to do some work with the commands and stuff in a smaller area when they're off collar. When I say when they're off the leader, the black dog, and you put the collar on them at that time to work with them. So you do make a transition, and then eventually they will not need it. But it will take a little while to make that transition, because if they're particularly rambunctious, it may take a little longer, but it does work. It just may take some time.
Is he rambunctious or or a puller?
A puller. He's not crazy rambunctious. It's just like, if he wants to sniff something, I mean, he can like almost drag me. Like,
Right.
he is so strong. Yeah.
Okay.
That's on male dogs.
Yeah.
But the black dog works the same way. When you're walking with him and practicing walking, when you're particularly practicing walking, when you're going out, and you can also take the one, and we had it on our video where the trainer in West Palm used a treat in her hand and up against a fence or a wall or something, and held the treat down and heeled with them while the dog was nibbling on the treat and walking with them. And you do that when they're on collar, not on the black dog. And then eventually they will get it. They will get used to heeling on collar instead of the black dog. But you probably, being a puller, because most of you know that I've known for a while, I've had some of those pulling bad boys that I love to death. And they do get it eventually, but it does take some time.
Okay. So it's fine to like bring him to Publix and Target in the black dog.
Yes,
Like,
yes. Oh, very
backwards.
definitely.
Okay.
Use your black dog in public, particularly if you've got a puller. You
Yeah.
don't want that impression of a dog that is pulling when you're out in public. You do not want that. So that black dog is perfect for that. You just remove them from the black dog when you're doing your casual walks with them and practicing with them and that kind of thing. But use your black dog in public, because it'll take them a while. I mean, it may take a couple of months before they finally calm down, but it will happen.
Thank you so much.
Hey,
Mhm.
Kat, have you tried the peanut butter on a stick?
Oh, that works too.
No. Mm-mm.
Were you in our last?
No, I wasn't on the last one.
Okay, so Sean explains it really well I think the training is on the YouTube.
Okay.
But anyway, basically you take peanut butter on a wooden spoon. I mean, that's what I've been
The
doing.
wooden spoon you can get at the dollar store,
Yeah.
and get one of those and do it. Yeah.
And I hold it down in front of the dog, because Wrangler is getting better, but that's what I've been using with him. He was very much a puller when Laura first picked him up in March. And I just started using the peanut butter on a spoon recently with him, and it's getting better. And I put it down in front of his face, and then he licks and licks and licks. And as he's licking, then I will pull the spoon away and walk, and he's right next to me. I believe, I want to say, I don't know if there's a video, but I know Sean explains it. He calls it the magic wand.
Okay. Or I'll go on.
The
and look.
magic stick, and that does work. They also teach it. They taught that at the Orlando dog training classes we've been going to, and they teach that also. You take a wooden spoon or a ice cream scoop or a stick or whatever,
Right.
and then in between, after, like you say, you pull it up and you put it out of their reach, and they will stop and look at it, and then you can put it back down and have them follow you with it again, and eventually, and that is on collar, not off black dog.
Right. That is on collar. So if you can alternate maybe between those.
Okay.
It works.
Okay, great.
So I did not take my dog for a walk. I just went out in front of my house and went back and forth and changed directions. And I just practiced in front of my house. I didn't try to walk him like that.
And that
Yeah.
works. That works.
Okay. Okay,
That
good.
works.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else in regards to that?
Not for me.
This is Elena. So could you clarify? So you pull the spoon up and you keep repeating the command?
So, well,
So
there's
it
not really a
associates-
command to repeat because all you want the dog to be taught to loose leash. You want them to be walking loose leash by your side. And so I have a spoon and I have a lot of peanut butter on the end of it. And I'm putting the spoon down in front of them and I'm walking and I happen to praise a lot. And so I'm like, yes, good boy,
Right.
good job. And
Right.
then once he gets like licking and he's like, "Nuh, nuh, nuh," a million times, then I'll lift the spoon out of his way and he's
Right.
still walking nicely next to me. And then when I feel like, okay, he's going to start to pull ahead, then I'll put the spoon back down. But I
Yeah.
want him to stay on my heel. I want him to heel next to me and walk with me nicely. And so as he's concentrating on licking, he doesn't tend to pull ahead because he's concentrating on licking, even when I lift it up. And Wrangler is rambunctious, but he's been pretty good with these peanut butter sessions that we've had. So he doesn't jump up on me. He looks up at it, but he doesn't jump and he waits for the spoon to come back down.
That's good.
And then we continue to walk. And yeah, so we've done that several times and we're still working because he is a work in progress. So yeah.
It's a great tool. It really is. It's awesome.
Yes, and I wouldn't like slather the spoon with peanut butter and then practice and then go. I would only do it like once, maybe like once, and then maybe later. I wouldn't keep doing it over and over again at the same training session. If that makes
No.
sense. Because I mean, obviously you're checking the peanut butter to make sure that it doesn't have whatever the xylitol in it. Obviously, you can even use a natural peanut butter, but yeah, just be
I'd
aware.
like to know which peanut butter has that because Jiffy's and Skippy's don't have, and Publix doesn't have it in it because I checked.
I don't think, and they changed the name of it also to something else.
Yeah.
Yes. Somebody said explain what a black dog collar is. Was that before Margaret started talking or now?
Yeah, I don't know.
Black
The
dog
black,
collar it goes over their nose, and instead of pulling on their nose more, it pulls on their neck, or maybe
no,
the opposite.
no.
it's the opposite.
No. What it does they call it like an infinity collar. And instead your gentle leader has the attachment for the leash under their chin, correct? And if they should make a lunge, their neck could be injured because their head could be pulled to the side while you're holding the leash. So they're dangerous. But the black dog has a figure 8 type way you put it on. You actually take and put it has 2 connections. One is a lead that goes under the chin, wraps around the nose and comes back out and goes over and attaches to a clip on the side of it. I don't have one right now, or I would put it on video so you could see it, but I'll show it the next time. Okay, I'll show it to you the next time. And you attach it there. Then what it does, there is no pressure on the neck. Their only thing is, because the leash is clipped at the back of the head, and when the leash is tugged at that point, the nose tips down. But it does not pull to the side or put any pressure on the neck at all. It only affects the pressure on the nose. And they tell you to use it by pulsing it a little bit if you have to, just to give it a couple of pulses rather than a steady pull on it or whatever. If they start to pull, you give it a couple of quick pulses. You kind of jerk back on it a little bit, just a little bit, a couple of little quick pulses. And that comes down on the dog's nose a couple of times and it gets their attention. So it works, and it works. I mean, that works. It works better even than the gentle leader does for whatever reason.
At first, they don't like it. They'll be like this. It takes a few times
Yeah,
for them to get used to it.
but they're more difficult to get off. The gentle leader, they can scratch that thing right off. The black dog does not scratch off as easy. So they have a rougher time getting it off. They still don't like it at first sometimes, but
The goal for our dogs is hopefully not to use
it.
We
Right.
try to really encourage people to really get that loose leash walk
Right.
under control when they're puppies, when they're younger, because when they do get to an 80-pound dog, it's a little
Yes.
bit more difficult.
Right.
So, yes.
But it is a great, I've had now a couple of dogs when I was having trouble when I first got into being a puppy raiser. I had a couple of really bad pullers, and I finally, New Horizons ordered me a black dog, and I used it, and oh my God, it was like night and day. And so I recommend them highly. I do not recommend the gentle leaders. I don't think they're safe for the dog. I agree with Janet on that.
Okay, any other questions in regards to that? Yeah, and you need to make sure that you call the office about that first.
Right, you have to approve it through the
You
office.
have to have it approved. You have to call and let them know what's going on, and you have to exhausted all of your other options
Right.
before. So, yes.
Hi, Wendy. I have a little question. So I have Cassian, and he's generally really great on leash inside. So when we're in places, he's fantastic. He heels, he's on the side, he's always a loose leash. And then as soon as we're in a parking lot, he wants to try to, because he's scared. So, you know, I make him come back, I make him sit for a minute. I use the so it just is that the best process to keep going? Just I'm trying to get him used to parking lots and trucks and noises and
Yeah. Yeah,
those-
if he's walking on a loose leash all the other times, like I saw you in
It's
the
just
prior
fearful.
season, he was doing a good job.
Mhm.
So I would just give him time to acclimate. You haven't really had him that long.
Right. Okay.
I wouldn't let him like yank you to the car. So I know Wrangler sometimes he's like, I want to get to the car and get out of the sun. And I will stop him, make him back up, and
Mhm.
we start again. So,
Okay. Yep. That's what I'm doing. Oh,
Okay.
sorry. They're funny.
good. Okay, so we don't talk about tug a lot, but I do notice that some of our dogs are not tugging as often or as much as they should. And tug is one of the things we use for them to like open cupboard doors, open refrigerators. So if you have a puppy, hold on, I dropped my pen. You can't have that, buddy. Sorry. Good boy, thank you. If you have a puppy, usually puppies always want to tug. And so you can have them tug on, you can hold the tug like this, and you can like, yeah, and it's okay if the dog, even if they're a bigger dog, if they growl and they like get them, you're getting them tug, it's okay if they not growl at you, but if they growl because they're excited, because we want them tugging, we want them to get used to tugging things. So I have a couple of tugs that are probably about this long, and I will give Wrangler, come here. Hey, excuse me. Give. Yes. Why did you eat that? That's yucky. Oh my gosh. It's like having a little kid. I think he's like, I'm bored. Hello. Why are you not paying attention to me? I don't know. Okay. So, you want to just, if you don't know if your dog tugs, find that out. Find out if they're a good tugger. If they are a good tugger, then start having them practice by putting a tug on a cupboard door or even the refrigerator door. Dude, give. That's enough.
How normal is that?
Oh my
That's very
God.
normal.
And it's just I have a little card like this, because I use it for school, and it fell on the floor and he just shredded it. And then apparently I didn't get it all, and he decided he was going to get it. Oh my gosh. Now he's like, oh, you're just annoying me. So hold the tug with any dog, hold the tug at both ends, especially if they're not interested. Hold the tug at both ends and try to get them to grab a hold of it and and play with them. And don't just then give it to them to play with. You want to play tug with them. Yes. And you want to use the word tug. And that's if a dog, that's with puppies, and that's with any dog who really doesn't have an interest. You want to get them excited. So if they growl like, that's okay. We want them to do that. We want them to be excited. Eventually they'll learn that they will connect it, especially once you start opening cupboards or having them open cupboards, or they go to their next person or their next training place and they learn. But if they're not tugging, so you decide, like Wrangler is a tugger, Hess was a tugger, Hess loved to play tug. So and he would open anything. But the goal is to see, okay, is my dog a tugger? If they're not, start working on that, make it a game, make it fun, because it will eventually work into a task, but you have to get them tugging first. Kind of the same thing with retrieving items. That has to be kind of a game first if they're not interested in it. Wrangler's not super interested in picking things up, but I make everything a game. And I make it exciting, like, oh my gosh, yes, good job. And I get really excited just when he even goes to put his mouth on it, because I know that he's starting to get the idea, but it's taken a little bit to get there because they don't always love to pick up all items in their mouth. So if you have a puppy being 6 months or younger, if you can get them to pick up keys and pick up spoons and pick up all of those types of things, super helpful as they progress in their training. If they're already an older dog and they're not picking up or tugging, either of those skills we use a lot, then those are the things you want to like work on at home. Get them to pick different things up or just have them hold it in their mouth. Our dogs don't like metal, like spoons and keys and other things that might be metal that they might have to pick up. Even some of them don't like phones. So the goal is to just start slowly, have them picking up anything that yesterday somebody dropped a screwdriver on the ground and they went to pick it up. I said, no, wait, let Wrangler do it. And he did it. He went down, it took him about 3 times, but he did. He picked it up by the handle and he looked at me and I said, yes. So it is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. And it's something we have to keep working at. So you have to find out what your dog will pick up. At first, it might just be a toy and that's okay. Get him to pick up the toy, then move to something different. Those are the puppies. The older dogs, hopefully, they're picking up, but sometimes we have dogs that come to us, like I said, Wrangler, and they don't love to pick things up. And I see Jeff says that he uses the tug command for Hutch to take off his socks, and that's awesome. Yes, if you know your dog is tugging, absolutely. Anything they can tug off. So your socks, your jacket, anything that, I mean, normally they don't rip your socks. The first couple times they might, but after they get used to it and you tell them gentle, they'll start to do it a little bit more gently. You may have to start the sock at first for them and then they can pull it off, have them tug off your shoes. And you're just gonna kind of have to at first work with them. Don't assume that they're gonna grab your sock from full on and pull it off because that's not gonna happen. You need to give them a little bit of, pull it off a little bit for them and make a big deal of it. Like when they're taking it and they get it off because boy, they're excited. And then make sure that you have them, because the first thing they'll want to do when they get it off is like shake it around in their mouth and have a party. And you want to be excited, but you want them to bring it to you so that you would say, bring it, give. But yeah, the 2 things that we use a lot, like I said, are tug and retrieve.
So just if you want it, I had a little, so I've been working on that with Cassian and he doesn't like pulling them off my feet yet. So I've been putting them on my hand with just a little bit of slack and he's really good at pulling it off my hand. And so
Yes.
that we can eventually move to feet.
Great idea.
So, and he's getting really good at that. Not so much anything like I show him on my foot and there's no tugging. He doesn't quite want to grab it. So I was trying to give a lip first so he could get it because I think he was worried about biting me. Still wouldn't do it, but he pulls it off my hand really nice. So I'm going to make it a little tighter on my hand and then hopefully move to feet.
Okay.
That has been working for him on
That's
that
awesome.
skill.
Yeah. So sometimes a little ingenuity. Yes, I like it. Nicole, you said you have a question about picking things up.
Yes. Hi, Wendy. So Basil, when we're out, he likes to pick everything and anything up, and it's excessive. And I know it's a delicate balance, trying not to discourage them, but it's getting to the point where it's a series of watch me. Okay, he looks immediately, and then, oh, there's a stick. Oh, there's something there, and it's nonstop. And so it's really gotten pretty excessive. So
Now,
I don't
is
know if I
that-
need to reel him in.
Yes. Is that when you're walking like, so I know, so Wasabi does the same thing. Every little leaf, every little, yeah. Now I haven't had Wasabi in a couple weeks because Laura has had him, but before he left, he was doing that a lot. And now they're what, 9 months old, right? 9
Yeah.
months. So I guess my question is he doing it all the time, even vested, like out, like when you're someplace, or does it seem to be more when you're just walking naturally in the neighborhood?
So it's mostly in the neighborhood, but it's also vested. So I'm taking him to work with me most days. And so we go from the parking lot into the buildings on campus. And if he can, he'll swipe anything, you know, like if we walk by, it's a lot of branches and leaves or like,
Mhm.
you know, even small things. So yeah, he's doing it vested, which really bothers me, you know, 'cause I
Okay.
want him to be perfect, but
Right.
it's mostly trees and things like that, or something random on the ground.
Will he pay attention to you if you have a treat?
So I normally have treats in my pocket
Okay.
because,
I mean, he's only 9 months old, so definitely, you know, that's going to be a problem. Pull a treat out. Have him focus on you. I would still say, watch me. I would, you know, just try to keep his attention. And then when you get to the building and nothing has been picked up, I would like, you know, really have a little praise party.
okay.
But yeah, I know Wasabi's the same way. And I'm like, watch me, leave it. Yeah. So definitely try to rein him in, because we don't want them going along the ground sniffing, you know. I use head up. I don't think that's in our command, but I do use that when I'm trying to get them to look up to lift their head up off the ground. I'll be like, head up. And sometimes it's just my voice where Wasabi will pick his head up and look at me. So, but I would definitely use a treat because we don't want them sniffing, you know, everything on the ground. That does happen sometimes at the supermarket too, because everything smells so good. And I have to eat it a lot. So as long you're aware of it, you know it's happening, I would definitely include that in his evaluation. So thank you for saying that, because make sure that you're filling out those monthly evals and that you're including anything that you see is an issue or something that you see could be an issue down the road, so that when they do leave you, the next person will know, or at least can be alerted. But yeah, I would use a treat. I mean, he's, like I said, he's young still, and it's okay to treat him. And then, you know, you don't want to over treat, but if he follows with one treat all the way to the building and boom, good job. Yes, that's it, you know?
Yeah. He does a lot of great things. It's just that I'm seeing his nose is down a lot. And even if it's in the building and they've just washed the floor or whatever it is, or he smells, he's very in tune now, which is normal.
Yeah, that's
but
interesting, only because he's been like it's the same place. He's been going with you. I would think that would eventually, but maybe not.
Can I make a suggestion too?
Yes, please.
For years, when I'm out walking with a dog, I'm always looking ahead to make sure that if there's some, especially things on the ground. I train mostly labs, and they're always got their head down looking for something. I'm not so sure about the Goldens, if they're much better than the labs or not in that. But anyway, I'm always looking ahead. And if I'm looking ahead and I see something, and I know my dog is not really paying that much attention to what's ahead yet until it gets closer, I just look at him and tell him to leave it. Just leave it. They don't know what it is, but they're already starting to processing it in their brain.
Yeah.
So by the time we get to whatever it is, they just keep right on going.
Right.
So make sure that you pay attention.
Yeah.
It's a lot to throw at you when you're trying to work with a young dog.
Yeah.
But you got to pay attention anyway. If you see something coming up, start telling the dog to leave it, or whatever that your command that you use to head up or whatever. Sometimes I will tell them, head up, you know, keep your head up. I don't want you looking down.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so totally point taken. And I guess I do that. So my concern is that I don't want him to just go like where he just tunes me out, because I could just say, leave it, watch me nonstop. So it's sometimes it's that extreme, and I don't want to keep saying the same thing. So it's like a delicate balance, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and using a treat will keep his head up because he's interested in the treat. But I know Wasabi has a tendency to walk with his head down, constantly looking for things on the ground. And so, yeah, that's,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the age or just, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's not getting awful things. It's just literally sticks or leaves or things like that. They're pretty benign, but it's nonstop.
Yep.
Or like, you know, he'll veer over to pick something up. I mean, he's just scanning, and then I'm just trying to keep him connected with me and
Right.
remind him I have a treat, watch me, you know, kind of thing. So I just don't want him to tone me out if I continue to say, leave it, leave it, leave it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
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 Thank you.
We do talk about walking and walking straight, not walking, looking down at our dog. I will look down at the dog if I'm looking for a certain, like I want to see, I don't know, but most of the time I will walk straight forward and I have the dog by my side. And a lot of times it depends on if you have a puller or not. Sometimes with a puller, you're really paying attention to where their head is. But if they're not a puller, then I'm paying attention more forward and talk, you know, and looking, like Ann said, look kind of, you know, I think I'm a little scanner, you know, little red scanners that go like this, and I'm looking for things ahead of me. So, yes. I did want to go, oh, go ahead.
No, I think that's the most important thing we should do is make sure what's coming up.
Yes.
What kind of things are we going to be facing in the next 10 seconds, 30 seconds or whatever, looking for potential distractions for the dog.
Right. I want to go back to tugging real quick. So when you're playing tug with your dog and you're getting into it and the dog is growling and it's all exciting, at some point you're going to have to stop. The dog would probably play all night, but at some point you're going to have to stop. So it's your job to say, so whatever the dog's name is, okay, we're done, and get them to give it to you. And you could play for as long as you want to, but the goal is to let them know that there's a stopping point and you're going to stop it by telling them to give you the tug. And then I would put it away so it wasn't an issue. I would put it somewhere where they couldn't get it. And then the next time you're ready to play, bring it out, play again. The goal is obviously to get our dogs tugging and really having a good grip, because sometimes cupboards that they open or dressers are a little harder and they really have to learn to tug on it to pull it out. So they don't need to necessarily be gentle. You know, our dogs have nice strong teeth and we want them to grab a hold of it, and we want them to learn to tug on whatever it is. And they need to learn that now, and it can just be a game at this point. The puppies, a year and younger, it's a game. You just get them to tug, tug, tug. If they've already been to prison training, they probably can open a cupboard. They probably can open a refrigerator if you attach a tug. And so that would be, if they're doing that. So playing tug with them, but also practicing opening up the cupboards and the refrigerator and whatever else. Those are just the two things I happen to have tugs on. And the reward for tug can often just be the opportunity to tug again, just to continue playing. Doesn't have to be a treat, just, ooh, let's play until you're all, you're all tired out. Because most of our dogs love that game. They love to tug. Maybe you want to drag them around, the living room or whatever. Or if you play outside. Because very often if we introduce food, it diminishes the desire to tug. They're now more interested in the food. So reward for tugging is just more tugging, or maybe a new tug toy, a different tug toy. So
I have a question to go along with tug.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jessica. I saw and I forgot. Yes.
Well, it's okay. So Fiji is great at tug. We can play. I remember we were at Millennia and Laura was nice enough to make us those tug toys.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been playing with that since then. And it's great. It's just, it's when I stop playing and I put it on the door and I say, okay, tug, let's go tug. And she just looks at me with like a blank stare. Like, why did we stop playing? Why is it on the door? Is there any way to like make that connection? Anything I can do to kind of encourage her other than like praise?
Well, what you're doing is a start, like playing with her and then putting it on the door. That's a start.
Right.
And then sometimes what I'll do is I'll shake it on the door. I'll be like, look, tug. And then
right.
Sometimes that works. Sometimes my dogs will do the same thing. They'll look at me like I've lost my mind. So eventually they're going to make that connection. And again, I don't know that you can try a treat, but I don't know that treating them, then their focus will then be on the treat and not.
Right.
But if she's doing a good tug, that's a start. If you're putting it on the door and you're encouraging her to, that's the next start.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
She'll
it's
eventually, she's young, she'll eventually make the connection.
okay.
And they will continue to work on that, like when she goes into prison, and that will be continued. But the start is getting them to tug.
Oh yeah, she's great. Like I said, she
Good.
pulls, I mean, she can probably pull me if she wanted to. She just won't pull it on the door
Have you
or
tried
like on a
other
cabinet or
places
anything.
besides the door?
Yeah, I've tried the cabinet. I tried like putting it on the refrigerator, just like blank stares. I'll even like open the door so she can see like what it'll do. And she just blank stare.
How about a laundry basket?
I have not tried that, but maybe something small like that would
Yeah,
work.
something. Try just putting it on the laundry basket and getting her to just grab it. Even if they, when they grab it, even if they just put their mouth towards it, you want to start to really praise it. Yes, that's it. You're almost there. Yeah, I started one of our dogs on a laundry basket, and it was a puppy's, and it started, that seemed to be like, oh, they like that. Also, it makes them not afraid to pull something with all that noise scraping across the ground. Because at first, normally they are.
Yeah.
They're a little reluctant, but, and I only would admit this to you guys, but I actually got on the floor and grabbed the tug myself to demonstrate. So, yeah. But you know, so the demonstration really was so they could hear it scraping across the ground. It wasn't really for them to see me with the tug in my mouth, but I was on the ground, and of course they love that. That's their, oh yes, you're on the ground. But just hearing that scrape, and like I wasn't getting upset about that, seemed to help them, because that seems to be a thing when they hear it. They like, ooh, what is that? So yeah, some dogs aren't bothered by it at all. Yeah, I sometimes do weird things to get my dog's attention.
I love it.
Whatever
I
works.
wish I could be that agile.
Yeah, I'm having a little trouble more now getting off the floor, but that's all right. Okay, it is 8:06. All right, does anybody have any questions or comments or concerns about your dog that you have?
Wendy, I have a question about Sage. When I'm in, like, she does eat 5 o'clock on the dot. If I'm like 15 minutes or 20 minutes late, my boss actually made a joke about it. Right before this call, in a meeting with a whole bunch of people, of how my dog interrupts me and will pull at the computer until I go feed her. And Jessica watched Sage, and she said, was it Sean, Jessica, where he said Sage is rude? So I wanted to know what we could do to work on that.
I actually have a huge suggestion, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
So I actually worked with somebody who is a trainer for my dog, and I had the same thing. It was like the demand barking. And I also brought it up to Kate, because I was telling her, I was like, man, these dogs, they love to demand bark. But how I kind of knocked it out with Fiji was when she was very young, she would do it. So I knew she wanted to eat right at 7 a.m. So what you do is you feed them a little bit before, and then you just feed them at different times.
Okay.
But you do it like before, like, so you're anticipating them to want to eat at that time. So that way they begin to trust you, and they know, like, okay, she's going to feed me, and it's not going to be at the time that I want, but eventually, like, I'm going to get food and I'm going to be okay. So that's what I started to do, and it worked. Like, Fiji will not go and like beg for food. And she knows, like, eventually around 5, 6, maybe even 7, like, I'll get dinner. But she doesn't do the demand barking, because that was a big
I know,
no-no.
you told me about it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Any other suggestions that?
Do you feed Sage in the crate?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because I do that with Conan, and like now if he starts getting antsy right at dinner time, I just look at him and I say kennel, and he'll run inside the kennel, and he'll sit there for 5 or 10 minutes if I want to make him wait 5 or 10 minutes, and with the door open, because I'm just like, you're not getting anything until you're quiet in there. And Cause like for a while there, when he first got here, I was like, oh, you're like really bossy. And I was like, no, dude. And it kind of helped. Like now he just knows, oh, I got to run in there. And sometimes if I'm not paying attention to what time it is, I just like see him in there. I'm like, oh, it's 5. Got it. Got it.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Wow.
So, I don't know. I was hoping maybe that would help you, but I guess not if you already feed
No,
her.
I'm gonna, well, oh yeah, she definitely took it. I'm gonna try what both you and Jessica said, like trying to feed her slightly earlier, or as you know, with work, you can never predict meetings. Sometimes they go over and you just have to sit there.
Right.
So I do say wait, Wendy, and she'll wait, but she'll come back 5 minutes later and then be very angry and start barking.
So before the meeting, I would put food in the bowl and I would keep it up with you.
Okay.
So that way, like if ever you want to feed her earlier or anything, it's already there. So you can just do
Put
what
it
you
down.
need to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe if you know you're gonna have a meeting around 5, just go ahead and feed her. Like
Right.
before she's, like Jessica said, before she's expecting it. That way she's fed and then she doesn't have anything to bark at you
Nothing to
about.
argue about, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you
that's
guys.
so interesting. I had my own golden, a pet I had. He knew it was 5 o'clock, and he
Oh.
would bark though. He would pace. He'd come and look at me, and then he'd go to where we got the food from. And he'd go back and forth, but he never barked. And he was a golden. But yeah, interesting. Yeah. So I think changing up the time on her will confuse her a little bit. And I wouldn't always do it before. And I sometimes, even if you have to walk outside or walk somewhere where she can't get to you and wait even 5 minutes.
So practice even like when I'm not even in a meeting, getting her used to that.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, because she's going to get fed when you feed her.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, she went into the camera today in work and tried. I was just like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's a
I
joke
would
in the
keep
office
her-
now. It's a joke.
I would keep her leashed and like step on the leash as well when you're in the meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
And just teach her to be by your feet. Because when I was working, she never did that. And I think it's because Fiji was always laying at my feet and she was just laying with her.
Yeah.
Okay. So she followed what Fiji was doing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
So I
Jessica, she takes after her mother. Her mother used to do that when she was a puppy.
Aw.
She definitely, oh yeah, she sounds like her mother.
Yeah, she's super cute. No, she's so good during the day. It's just like after 5, 6 o'clock, she gets the zoomies, and that's when I'm like, I have no control over her for that hour.
Well, they have to have their exercise.
I think they
Yeah,
all
that's
get
true.
that. That's I don't know about other dogs. Well, I know Goldens and Labs. They get it. They can't
You
help it.
gotta have the zoomies, and they can lay there and be so good. Like I had to drive to Jacksonville today, and I was 7 hours round trip. And I mean, she was an angel the whole way into the doctor's offices and all that, and laid down in the dark room while they were doing all the tests and all that kind of stuff. And I'm telling you what, and then not a peep. We went to a restaurant, no peep. Got home and we did the zoomies outside before we ever made it anything. And then she was happy.
Yeah, because they've been so good all day. Okay, some reminders. Unless if there's any more questions you need to think of, I'll give you a second at the end. But just remember, if your dog is throwing up over and over and over again, or not eating, that you make sure that you call the office. Any medical issues that you think you're having with your dog, please do not hesitate to call the office. Somebody will get back to you if they don't answer right away. So please make sure if it's medical, you have any concern, to call the office. Just upcoming things are October 23rd. There will be a training. We just aren't sure if it's just going to be just the Winter Park area or if it's actually going to be the boat tour. We'll know closer. There will be a cost for the boat tour. That's what we're trying to work out with them, but it'll be the Winter Park area. The DeLand Christmas Parade, I saw Mindy put this in here. I believe it's December 4th. So if you would just kind of put that on your calendar, it's a wonderful, fun event. If you're in the area, so fun to take a dog. We go as a group and we're in the parade. And usually in years past, the streets have just been lined with hundreds of people and we're in the middle and we throw candy and blah, blah, blah. So hopefully that might be a thing this year. Also, the training for the Volusia County Fair this year will be, the fair is between the 4th and the 14th. And so we'll throw an in-person training in there somewhere. So just keep that in mind. And I think that is it. I think that's it. Yes.
Wendy, I put the link for the black dogs on the chat if anyone wants. it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Anything else for the good of the group?
I do have one additional question. So I bring Cassie into class with me, and for the most part, he's excellent in all my classes. And then in 2 of the areas, so during our staff meetings, he has a hard time, and I know it's because we're all sitting close to each other, but he will keep coming out of his stay without being released. Then I kind of have to put him back in. Now I know that that room is full of ferret smell because the ferrets play in there during the day. So I know that's a problem. So I came with treats this time, trying to, continuously, oh, nope, we're going to sit, we're going to lay down, we're going to stay. And then when I saw him start to get up or try to army crawl away from his area, I tried to reinforce them. And then in another room, they train dogs in that room. So I know the floor is like covered in treats. So he doesn't listen to me as well when I'm trying to tell him those things. And I know it's just distractions. So should I just continue just reinforcement, put him back in that position?
Yep.
Keep treats with me in those rooms so that, because the other rooms that I have him in, he's found a spot, he goes into a spot, he lays there. It's just those 2 areas.
So he just needs you just continue to work with him on those distractions. Obviously.
Okay.
For 20 minutes. So keep working with that. When he's downstay and you're in a meeting, are you stepping on his leash in anticipation that he's going to get up?
As soon as I see him start to get up, I kind of just push the leash down, or I'll put the hand up, stay. But sometimes I miss it. And he gets up and I'm like, oh, nope. And I have him sit and I have him lay down and I have him stay again. So he's just not keeping things until I release him, I find. So I don't know if we working on longevity at home and nope, we're going to stay.
Yes.
We're gonna stay.
Yep.
And work on emphasizing that release. So is that just the best way to go about that?
Yep. It's all about duration.
All right. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, Wendy.
Yes.
I would say the trainer that I've worked with in the barking being a bit demanding, he would say to me, do not even look at him when he's barking at you, because, and it tends to work because he's just protesting.
Yeah.
And if you pay 1 ounce of attention, he's winning the protest.
Right.
So what I'll get up and do is walk away, and then I might come back to the kitchen and I open the little gate that he's maybe behind, and then I'll walk around the kitchen and still don't pay attention to him until a few minutes later, and then I'll say, well, did you want something? And when he's finally stopped barking. And it tends to work. And what happens is each time it gets shorter. He's not much of a protester, but I think he's found his voice and will give it a go, but it's not really worked too well for him but I have found that it's shorter and shorter each time. And I certainly do not pay attention to him when he's barking to protest something, whether it's let me out the gate or I want something, or if he's in a stay and he wants to get up and I'm not giving him permission to get up, he'll give out a couple of barks, and it's a simple protest.
Yep.
Simply ignore them.
Yeah. So
And
the best thing, if you're able to, is really walk out of the room. Like when they
I do something completely
out of the room.
ignoring him.
So Carlene, I
Because
know
it's very hard to ignore
you're on
them.
a work call, but if you can arrange yourself so that you could walk into another room,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, Jessica noticed that when I went to go pick up Sage. She's like, Sage just like barks at you. And I was like, yeah, because that's how she gets what she wants. But now I know it's my fault. I don't get up and not listen to her.
Who's going to win the game? Who's going to win the command?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a very hard thing to do, but
he worked with me for about a week, and then we take a week off, and then we do it again. And I tell you, I had great success with it. And especially when people are coming into the house, put them in a stay. And I keep a lead on during that time because I want to be in control of it.
Yeah.
So I'll put them in a downstay, in a place or a downstay. And the both, because I've got the two dogs, and they both will sit there. And I have the person come to the door, knock the door, come in, walk right past the dogs. I tell them, please don't pay attention to them. And they do. And the dogs are sort of sitting there watching. And probably about, 20 minutes in or 15 minutes in, I'll let them up and have them greet. But he said they've got to learn that the person's here to visit you, not them.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
And
my
it's
mom's on the
one-
call. Mom, I know you're on your way home. Let's try that. Because I know as soon as you walk in the door, Sage is going to try to jump on you.
Oh,
and lick
yes.
you and bark on you. So
Yeah.
let's practice that tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I usually I put a lead on. I have used a leash more
Yeah.
the last couple of years than I ever did at the beginning. And if I know somebody's coming to the door, I'll try to put a lead on them real quick. And then I step on it. I step on
Yeah.
it, and so that I'm not down by the dog, or I'm not even holding on to them. I just am stepping on it, and they don't have much room to move.
And pay
Yeah.
no attention to her.
Yeah.
And you,
Absolutely none.
yeah.
It's like stick your head in there and just walk around.
Walk
It absolutely annoys the living
will-
daylights out of them.
Yes.
She will
Yeah,
bark
we
up
lost
a storm.
because I didn't get up fast enough for my meeting. I just oh, now my mom's gonna find out. We just lost a nice cushion on our couch. She tore it up.
Oh.
Yeah, Sage
Oh.
Sage was not nice today. Not
She-
nice.
Uh-oh. She's in trouble.
I
Oh,
do
she's in
think
trouble.
the females protest more than the males do.
I
They
think
do?
you're right.
Okay.
Yes, I think they really do,
yeah.
because our little trifle, she likes to push the barrier just as far as she can go, and she eggs it on with Chuck, and he's just sitting there like dumbfounded. Well, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
But he doesn't pay any attention. But she just, and when it comes to those zoomies at nighttime, she will pull his tail, bite his leg until he starts running with her.
Yeah, that's
So I think the girls are a lot more.
Yeah. I think
Yes,
that
they are. Yes,
A lot
they
more
are.
cheeky.
all right. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you being on again. I apologize for being late. I don't know what happened. My brain was just somewhere else. So at school, actually, that's where I was. So thank you. I know Kate sent out the dates for October. She'll also be sending out the dates for November, but keep those things in mind on your calendar that are coming up, because this next 3 months, is going to fly by, hopefully. I'm already thinking about Christmas break. That's terrible. Dina, thank you so much for doing the September Tampa training. That was awesome. I really appreciate you being there and just being available for our raisers and thinking of the whole grooming thing, because that's always something that's ever present on our minds. So, all right, guys, thank you and have a good night, and we'll see you
Good night.
whenever the
Thank
next.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Thank you. Wendy, good luck getting your grades done.
Thank you.
I got mine done already.
Oh,
See you Saturday.
yes.